Okay, guys, so I want us to go through a series of stages that you can use to try and add depth to your ability to evaluate a character. Now, generally, what we mean by evaluation is to make a decision about the nature of a character, taking into account both sides or two different ways of looking at them. So, we want to try and come to some sort of decision about the nature of a character that takes into account all of their various traits, because as we know, human beings are not all good and they're not all bad. Judson Webb is no different, even though our instinctive reaction to him is negative and that he is definitely presented as a kind of villain character. There are some counterparts, some counter features to his character and personality that give us the full picture. So what you should do always when you're starting with a character like Judson Webb, we're going to begin with some of the best character adjectives that we came up with in class for him last lesson. So here's a selection of them. We're going to start with these. We decided that he was protective. Protective, not necessarily of his wife or of people, but of his material goods. And so that brought us this description, that he was materialistic, and then we kind of souped that one up into the word covetous. He wanted stuff. He wants stuff, objects. So we've got these two to start off with. Then, we were trying to develop basically mean. And we splintered this off into a variety of different ways of describing this. He's cruel, malicious, and likes to do harm to others, it seems. He's cruel, malicious, and vindictive. And this is a word that actually comes up in the story. His wife describes him as vindictive. And these are more formal ways of describing someone who is mean. And this is a word that you might come across first of all. So we've got cruel, malicious, and vindictive. He's covetous, materialistic. There's a picture fleshing out of him here that's not particularly nice. Then, finally, he's angry and he wants to do harm to people because he is driven by revenge. And if you are driven by the desire for revenge, you are vengeful. You are vengeful, or perhaps driven by rage or anger. It's driven by rage and anger. So we've got now a variety of different ways of thinking about him. He is protective, but he's also materialistic and covetous. He wants things and objects. He is mean, and by that we mean he's cruel. He likes inflicting suffering on others, and that's what we mean by malice. He is spiteful. He likes and takes some sort of pleasure out of inflicting harm on others. And vindictive, he's actively hostile towards people, consciously hostile. And then he is driven by rage and anger, and he is vengeful. So we've got a variety of different ways of thinking about his character here. But this is not the end goal. So this is really step one, coming up with formal ways of expressing character traits, formal descriptions of character traits, are where you want to start. So you start with a word like mean, and then we can use a resource like the tone wheel that I'm going to give you in a few weeks' time to come up with various more formal alternatives for describing this character, so that you end up with a series of traits that are formal and precise in terms of describing his character. This is step one.